12 if we can. We'll start with 11, I guess. So whenever I'm looking at these sort of evaluations, I want to see if what happens in the initial evaluation carries through in the final. And what was most shocking to me was, I think, seeing PGAL move from first place essentially all the way to the end. Everything else remained fairly stable. If you can, would you mind sharing a little bit, like, what happened?
Yeah, so, I mean, we have all of the evaluation committee members individually review all of the packages and look at all 13 submissions, and we all come together and score those as we move forward with that. And then as we go through that effort and process, we're just looking at what they're putting on paper. And one of the things that we're very specific and intentional about is when we bring them back for interviews, we're asking the hard questions. And we want to know, first and foremost, what is your commitment to San Antonio, right? So how many people are you bringing here? How focused are you? Are you going to bring your general superintendent, and is he going to live here? Or is she going to live here? Or are they going to be somewhere else? So those are the types of examples that I can give you when we go through the interview process. We have a number of questions. We can certainly share those with you that we ask. We spend a lot of time putting together those questions as we get into the evaluation process. And if they don't deliver, then we can't make them what they're not. And it's important to us that we see their commitment to San Antonio, and we see that, I like to say it all the time, that they're hungry to be here with us, because that makes the difference in the way we deliver not just a project, but the entire program that we have for the airport.
Thank you. And I do see that HOK, I'm happy to see that their team includes West East Design. They've done great work in District 2 and I think throughout the city. So it's a familiar face that I'm eager to see work in this capacity. Can you remind me again, what is the feedback that you're looking for from council right now? Basically just support to move forward with the recommendations you made and
that is correct. So we will bring this to an A session once we finalize the post-solicitation with you today, and then we'll move forward with taking it to A session for your final approval.
Wonderful. Well, you have my support. For my colleagues, today we'll do 10 minutes and 10-minute first round, 5-minute second round. If you need to go over in your first round, you can use your second 5 minutes. Just let me know as the time goes out. We will start with Councilmember Spears.
Thank you, Chair. Jesus, excellent work. I'm just so proud of everything happening at the airport. Fully supportive of everything you've presented today. When in the MTTF meeting, it was discussed how important this project is, our runways are, redoing our runways. So I encourage all of my colleagues to really focus on that when we go to DC and talking about the need for moving this project forward. It's going to impact the whole USA if we don't keep pushing on this. It will cause delays that across the nation, longer routes. It's just a real big federal priority. So I just wanted to share that with you, and that I got the same information in a different setting. So again, super proud of y'all. So happy y'all are mostly in D9, and everything we can do to support you, I'm fully behind it. I understand how important the airport is to San Antonio and our growth. So I think excellent work, and thank you so much.
Thank you, Councilmember Spears. Councilmember White.
Yeah, I'll be brief as well. Thank you for the presentation, Jesus. This all looks great, fully supportive. You know, as we talk about economic development for the city, the airport's going to play a huge role in that. And I'm glad we're expanding our direct flights. We need more of those, certainly. We've got to make it easier for people to come here for leisure, and then for folks to come here for business, and our people to fly elsewhere for business. It's of the utmost importance, and so I'm glad we're moving forward in that regard. Just a couple of questions on the receiving and distribution center. The need for this, what sort of operational efficiencies or inefficiencies are we addressing here?
So the biggest ones are, we're going to centralize where all of our products and goods are going to. And it will go into a central location. The RFQ is set for them to respond to us. We're telling them you've got to be within a certain radius of the airport, and we want you to go lease some space or buy some space on the airport property. And we want you to house all of those goods and products that are coming into the airport. But more importantly, we want it to all be sterilized. And we want, as we move forward, towards where we're going, as we're trying to ensure everyone that's getting on what we call the sterile side of the airport, we want everything to be sterilized as we move forward. So that's a big piece. On the operational side, because it all goes into a central location, that helps a lot of the concessions because they can store as much as they want into that location, and they can go grab it quickly from the airport and stock better, which means we don't have to have everything out in the front or in closets or in pallets out in front of the terminal where people are grabbing and moving things. All of this comes in during the non-peak periods for them to move through freight elevators and bring the material in. It's very similar for the trash as well. So we have a lot of back alleys that everything will be moving on as we move forward, and that's what we're getting ready for this.
And is this something that our current concessionaires asked for? And
I wouldn't say they're necessarily asking for it, but I would say they're excited because it gives them some cost efficiency in the storage of their products in a centralized location and their ability to go get the product. There's sometimes in peak periods in the morning, they run out of water.
Yeah.
So, and if they don't have enough space in the existing footprint to get water, then they'll be able to call into this and say, I need blank, blank, and blank, and bring that in as quickly as possible.
and this is how it works in other airports across the country?
There's probably about 8 to 10 now that have moved in that direction, and everyone's moving in that direction.
Okay. All right. Thanks.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Councilmember White. We have Councilmember Alderete-Covito, followed by Dr. Core.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Jesus, for this presentation. Yeah, also fully supportive. Really, the only question is, and I feel like y'all may have given this to us at some point in the past, but it'd be good to see an updated version, really just timelines of when we're expecting all of these milestones to take place. One, it's helpful to us, for us to communicate to residents, because sometimes, they're seeing the construction or they're seeing things go on, and so we can be able to better answer those questions. And then two, for us just to have a grasp of the timelines.
I think that's great. We can give you a schedule that we
Yeah.
call a Gantt chart.
Yeah, Gantt chart,
That
perfect.
reflects exactly what our milestones are.
Perfect, yeah, look forward to that.
Yes, ma'am.
That's all, thank you, thanks, Chair.
Thank you, Councilmember. Councilmember Dr. Core, followed by Councilmember Mesa Gonzalez.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Thank you, Jesus, for the presentation. I have a couple of questions. One, I was excited to see that Kimley Horn got the first contract. That's a $40 million contract. It's a pretty sizable amount. Do we think that this work is going to affect their ability to handle any of our, I know this because they're working with us on our San Pedro Springs Park Bond Program. And so they have a lot of other projects and that's probably a different team because this is a security assessment. But we don't foresee them being able to, or affecting any of our other contracts because they're getting this work, right?
No, none whatsoever. We've changed the structure as we talk about the overall organizational and architecture of Kimley Horn. Edwin's back here behind me because he knows I interviewed him thoroughly before he came to San Antonio to make certain he was ready to do the things that we're doing on the airfield. So I feel confident in their abilities and what they're doing. And as we mentioned, this is a long-range plan. This starts the early phasing design work, and then we'll work towards year 5, year 8, year 10. We just don't know all those answers just yet, and we got to figure that out.
Got it. So what I heard, just clarify if I'm wrong, what I heard is they're going to pro bono give us time for San Pedro Springs Park to do the design work. That's what I think I heard. Eric is like, no.
Okay.
No, I'm glad to see that happened. For the TABRR evaluation group, can you tell me a little bit about the difference between the first and the second? It's a very small point difference, so I was just wondering. I know
Yeah,
one is
I mean,
located
as I
locally.
mentioned in the opening comments, they were all so close. It was tough. We sat in there for probably 2 hours trying to come to finalization. A lot of it was focused on their ability to do, when we do Terminal C, which is on a brownfield today, right, there's nothing there. It's very easy to go in there and start putting holes in the ground and erecting pylons and doing all the vertical work that we're doing. That's easy. When you're doing terminal renovations, you've got to know what you're going to close, what's going to open, how you're going to do that phasing. As Eric has always told me, Jesus, when am I going to see some tough construction stuff so that people can, know that we're doing a lot of work out there, right? We're getting there. So when we start Terminal A and Terminal B renovations, how are we moving all of our carriers so that everyone's in the right places? How are we taking care of our concessionaires? There's a lot of efforts that go into this coordination. Please.
I just wanted to add, as one of the non-technical people on these selection committees, what we're really doing in the interviews with designers is understanding how they think, seeing their creativity. They're coming forward with ideas about, you could do this in Terminal A, you could move the security here, you could do this to bump this out, and sort of validating that against what our budget is. So Jesus is right, we had 13 great firms, which was an awesome problem to have, but at the end of the day, HOK really impressed us with their thought processes, some of their ideas for how we can modernize A. We'd love to show them now, but as Jesus said, we've got to work through the costs and make sure all of it works. But they were very, very impressive in terms of the creativity they were bringing to the renovations.
That was my follow-up question. So based on what we know with what's going on at Terminal A, did we give them a budget to say, like, present designs that would fall within this scope?
Yes, there were, I think there's, in the airline deal, there's $200 million for A and $100 million for B, pre-approved by the carriers. So that's the budget we were working within. And one of the things HOK did was give us 3 different tiers. We could do this for this much, we could do that for that much. And so we looked at all those things and said, we
What
like
was the
some of that.
highest tier they gave?
It was more than the budget, so it wasn't necessarily what we'll do. That's the work we have to do now. But I think we all walked away from the conversation feeling like they understood what our needs were. They were being really creative and cost-effective in how they did it, and so that's what led to them being our recommendation.
What is their recommendation for where the security should go at A?
We'll follow up with you on that. There's lots of
You can't talk about it,
possibilities.
yeah. Okay,
It's not where it's at now.
good. Okay, and then the last questions, and Jesus, maybe you can answer this, but for the points, why was the points different for the first 2? I see that there's the veteran-owned small business prime and the small business prime on this next pre-solicitation, but it wasn't there on the previous 2. Do we know why? And a local preference program is also on that one.
Good afternoon, Troy Elliott, Chief Financial Officer. There are really 2 different types of solicitations. The first 2 are requests for qualifications. Based on requests for qualifications, they're going to be statutorily driven. Also, and the other one that has the local and the veterans on it, it's an RFP. So it's more flexible and we can actually incorporate those things into the evaluation.
So we're not allowed to for requests for qualifications?
No, typically not, and there's a lot of factors we look at. One, RFQs, like I mentioned, are typically statutorily driven. Also, if there is, depending on if it's on the air side or the land side, the FAA regulates it differently, and that's considered federal funding, and so that will not allow certain preferences as well. So there's a lot of different factors that we take into consideration.
So the first 2 that we just discussed, these ones that we're doing post solicitations on were both federally funded?
I don't know if they were federally funded or not. Yes. Federally eligible, yes.
They're eligible for grants, Councilman.
They're eligible. And this next one will not be because of these points, or we already know that it is not going to be, so we can,
For the RFP?
yeah.
Yeah, the RFP is funded out of the M&O budgets, and
have-
it's an RFP, so we can actually allow those type of items in there.
Got it. If we took out, not saying that I would advocate for this, but if we took out those points, would it then be eligible for grant funding, or is this just not one of those that's not?
I can't answer that question.
So we have what was called the bipartisan infrastructure law. It's always been the IIJA. Don't ask me to give you the acronyms for IIJ. There's so many acronyms in our industry, but we've never had the ability to have grants for vertical funding. And we've had that over the last several years. So we want to make certain we put ourselves in a position to be able to go get that funding as we look at the way this is scored.
For the post solicitations, but that's not the same thing for the pre-solicitation.
That's correct.
Okay, okay. All right, that's all I have. Good job, Jesus, and excited to see the pre-solicitation briefing for Terminal C. For the F&B spaces, and congrats on the Breeze. Never even heard of them, but I'm glad they're here, providing nonstop service. Thanks, Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you, Councilmember. Councilmember Mesa Gonzalez, followed by Councilmember Villagrán.
Thank you. Just a quick question on the, I didn't know if any of these folks had gone through, do we have like a mentee program for any of these firms, engineering firms? Have they been part of one?
Well, what we try to do, and as you see by some of the selections that we've made, as we look at what was in the Terminal C footprint, we have a large contractor that brought on a local firm. So we're trying to do that with all of these to do exactly what you're referencing, so that they can start to get experience in aviation, in these large projects that will help them expand across the country and go say, I built out San Antonio International Airport, I was part of this team and we did this. And that helps them get that experience. So we're very intentional about connecting large firms across the United States with a lot of local firms.
And I don't know if we can do this, considering where we are, but is kind of create any sort of commitment that we can get from the HOK or the leading firm to have a mentorship program, because right, we have the School of Construction at UTSA, we have all these good programs in higher ed, and so just to make sure that we're building people up from here to continue that work, I think is important.
We spend a lot of time working on letting our youth become familiarized with the importance of aviation, whether that be in the high school level, the collegiate level. We've done in the past a number of different, we were up to 8,000 students that we had put into a flight simulator.
Oh, great.
I mean, Eric, who does that for us, couldn't get a day off. Everybody was,
I thought this.
I want to know
was
how
like,
to
really?
do
You
this,
can't
how
get
does
it
this
out?
work? So those are the things that we've tried to work on, and whether it's UTSA or, you know, Trinity or UIW or any of the institutions here in San Antonio, Texas A&M, San Antonio, all of them, we want to continue to grow the knowledge of aviation.
Okay. I think that was it. Do we have a mentor-mentee program through, is it through Public Works?
I'll share with you,
or-
just yesterday, I had 6 or 7 management fellows from this office that
Because
were in
this,
here.
just because the airport or even the sports and entertainment district, it's like the, what is it, like the Mount Everest of projects, right? That every firm wants, and so there, we know that there's small local firms don't necessarily have the capacity, and so just, especially with these big programs, projects coming, if we have something in place or.
We do, Councilwoman, and more so and this is good feedback for application to other solicitations. HOK has West East Design
Yeah.
and CNG Engineering, two fantastic companies that we do business with on a smaller scale.
Right.
So it does give them the opportunity. Generally speaking, their mentorship protege process on other procurements looks a little bit differently than the airport.
Okay.
But, you know, this is good feedback as we talk about potentially other large projects coming down the road. It's one of the things that makes sure that as we solicit to Councilwoman Core's questions, that we're soliciting in a way where we can value local, but also, you know, we do want that team approach.
Sure.
Because a lot of times, whether we call it mentor protege, it is an opportunity for a smaller local firm to be part of that business and be able to add that to their resume and grow that.
Okay. Thank you so much. That's all my questions.
Thank you, Councilmember Villagran, and she is the last person signed up.
Thank you, Jesus. Thank you for the presentation. A lot of this is going to be technical on the presentation. It was a lot of information. Congratulations on the new nonstops. I'm very excited about that, and very excited to see us grow. I like the first 3 slides. I think that's great. We got into the overview, post-solicitation briefing, post-solicitation briefing, pre-solicitation briefing. When this comes presented, or if I could get the information, is you have the post-solicitation briefing, it's fine with the contract. But when we get to slide number 7 and 8, there is a difference between points between slide number 7 and 8, and what I would like to know is why and who did the scoring. So I know that it was, you have a little note that says held with interviews and scoring completed. I think it'd be important at this point for the public and myself to know who was on those interviews in terms of why we, Kimley Horn got that extra point and RSNH got a point subtracted. And so there we end the first ASEIP evaluation. And so we've got our 2, and these were the only 2 that applied?
That is correct.
Yeah, so if you could just get me the information of who was on that scoring team to understand why, like, they interviewed poorly. The other thing is for them or for others in terms of understanding, hey, they lost a whole point when they did the interview or gained a whole point. Then we move on to the post-solicitation for the architectural designs for Terminal A and B. This is just an aesthetic thing. It would be nice if there was some continuation, because then we put the solicitation contract value and funding source on the bottom, and so it's kind of hard to follow. But I did read it through the other thing. And the TAB are our program goals, great. As we get here, I think this was kind of the questions that Councilman McKee Rodriguez is. We had somebody that was number 1, but then we come back and it's like final evaluation. It flips, and I'm fine with that. But again, what I'd like is the information on the scoring team and kind of why we saw that difference. I'm very familiar with West East Design Group and familiar with CNG Engineering, and then I have been to the Tampa terminal, so I understand that I liked that terminal, so I was like, this is experience, we see it. But if you could just put that somewhere in the slide. I don't want a super long presentation because I think I did really great with the 18, but I would like to know kind of, it was in that interview process, it was in the hard questions when we asked, that this is why we went with Helmuth and that group, okay? And then as we get to the CRDC, this is going to be our evaluation committee. And can y'all pull up slide number 15? So, yeah, so this is going to be our evaluation committee for this next level, and just, again, as we go through the process, understanding that
Bless you.
this is the team, is this the team that's going to do the interviews too?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, and I think that's just what I was following it, and I was like, wait, who did the interview? So if you could just add that on either to the final presentation or just,
Yep.
I know I've seen them before, but I can't remember who it was. But I'd like to know in terms of how our firms, especially in the second one where we had so many San Antonio firms, but ended up going, and I'm fine with the one you went with because I've been to those terminals, but kind of understanding, where the difference in points and things like that happen.
We'll send you a follow-up memo. Councilman.
Okay, thank you. Other than that, totally in support. I think the team that's going to have the hard go is going to be that concession. And if you weren't at the EWDC or you hadn't heard about it, we're looking for some concession space to sell all the San Antonio gear. So we're really excited about that too. So thank you for the presentation.
Thank you, Councilmember. Any other council members who'd like to speak? Hearing none, I just want to send another thank you for keeping the slides under 20. You know, I was not a fan of the 67 slide presentations. Eric, do you have any final words or any final takeaways? Nope. Okay, the time is now 2:49 p.m. and the meeting is adjourned. No executive session today, but we do have 5 o'clock public comment. There are several speakers signed up to speak, so please be prepared. Thank you.